The coronation of Empress Scara IX was supposed to be the most dignified event in the galaxy, an orchestration of light, music, and reverent silence. It was also, to my human eyes, the most over-engineered parade of nonsense I'd ever seen. The Scar called it ceremonial perfection. I called it 50 aliens trying to balance tinfoil on stilts while chanting vowels. I was there as the Terran representative of cooperative engineering, which really meant the guy who once fixed their hyperdrive with a screwdriver and attitude. They invited me because the Empire wanted to prove it could tolerate primitive humor. No one expected me to actually laugh. The celestial balcony curved above the Empire's capital like a crescent of gold. Billions watched the livestream. The Empress stood at its edge, draped in ceremonial armor that gleamed brighter than common sense, winged plates, glowing coils, and a cape so long it needed its own gravity compensator. She turned slowly, her face serene, her voice amplified by 1,000 drones. "My people," she began, "today we rise." Then came the clunk. A small sound, but in a hall tuned for reverence, it hit like a thunderclap. The right wingplate of her armor snagged the balcony rail. She shifted. The rail refused. She tugged once. Twice. Nothing. The Imperial Orchestra kept playing as if nothing had happened. Courtiers froze mid-bow. The Chief Chamberlain whispered, "Remain calm, Your Radiance, we will summon the engineers." She pulled again. The cape twisted around the railing's ornament, tightening. The Empress of an entire galactic empire was stuck. I bit my lip. The laughter started as a tremor in my chest, one of those situations where the more you shouldn't laugh, the more your body betrays you. A squeak escaped. Heads turned. The translator drones replayed my laugh across the chamber. Every alien eye swiveled toward me. Scara's voice sharpened. "Human Harlan, is amusement your response to royal distress?" I managed, "Your Majesty, it's just, your rail caught you." "Explain," she demanded, straining against the balcony. The armor creaked like a starship hull under pressure. I took a cautious step forward. "Well, looks like the hinge joint on that wingplate's decorative flange is hooked under the safety bar. Happens all the time with Earth staircases." The court gasped as if I'd compared her to furniture. I couldn't help it, another snort of laughter. "Silence," barked the Chamberlain. "No one approaches the Empress without ritual clearance code 47B. I muttered, "She's not launching a missile, she's stuck in a railing." The Empress gave an exasperated sigh. "Proceed, human. Before this embarrassment becomes legend." "Bit late for that," I said, pulling the multi-tool from my belt. The guards tensed. Plasma halberds hummed. I held up my hands. "Easy. It's not a weapon. It's a universal problem solver." Scara raised an eyebrow ridge. "A tool." "Yep. Also doubles as a bottle opener, should diplomacy fail." A ripple of confused clicks passed through the alien audience. I knelt beside the rail. The metal was fused with decorative crystal, beautiful, useless, and incredibly inconvenient. The Empress shifted, trying to help, which only wedged her tighter. I winced. "Hold still," I said. "If you move, I'll never get you out." Her tone cooled to sub-zero. "You presume to command me, human?" "Only temporarily," I said. "Until your Highness is no longer one with the balcony." That earned me a glare potent enough to sterilize crop. I pressed the release stud on my tool. It hummed. A small flame flickered to life. The aliens recoiled. Apparently, open fire was considered barbaric. "It's called heat," I explained. "Loosens stuck joints. Great for stubborn bolts, and ceremonial armor that thinks it's part of the decor." A few aides fainted. Scara craned her neck. "Is that safe?" "For me, yes," I said. "For you, depends how attached you are to that cape." The corner of her mouth twitched. "You find humor even in peril." "It's how we survive," I said, focusing on the hinge. "If you can't laugh at disaster, you end up ruling it." The flange softened, and with a gentle twist the wingplate popped free. Unfortunately, so did half the balcony ornamentation. A glittering shard floated past, caught in the zero-G stabilizers, spinning like confetti. The crowd gasped again. I couldn't stop laughing now. It was contagious. Scar's armor still hung slightly crooked, the rail bent outward. She looked magnificent and ridiculous at once. "Explain to me," she said slowly, "why humans treat calamity as comedy." "Because," I said, pocketing my tool, "it usually is comedy. The universe built railings. We built curiosity. Guess which wins?" Her glare softened into something I didn't expect, amusement. She tested her arms, free at last. "You have freed me, Terran Harlan. Using nothing but a primitive implement and poor manners." "Both inherited traits," I said. The Chamberlain sputtered. "This breach of protocol." Scara raised a hand. "Protocol trapped me. The human freed me. That is the new lesson." I saluted with mock precision. Glad to be of irreverent service. Then came the silence. The dangerous kind, the moment where decorum demands solemn gratitude but your brain still wants to laugh. Her eyes met mine, bright with the same suppressed hilarity. "You risked your life, human," she said. "Honestly," I replied, "I risked the paperwork." That broke her. The Empress laughed, deep, melodic, uncontrolled. It echoed through the hall, scattering centuries of rigid etiquette. The audience didn't know whether to join or faint. When she finally caught her breath, she looked down at the twisted rail. "It seems we have both bent the balcony today." "Could be worse," I said. "On Earth, we'd call that an upgrade." A pause, then she leaned closer, voice low enough only my translator caught it. "Tell me, human, do you always find amusement in royal entanglements?" I grinned. "Only when the royalty gets caught." Her laugh returned, soft this time. "Then you will be trouble." "Probably," I said. "But the kind that fixes things." She turned back to the cheering crowd, armor still slightly askew, chin high. I stepped back, stifling one last chuckle. The Empress of the Scar Empire had just learned the first rule of humanity. When the universe gets you stuck, someone with a multi-tool and bad timing will show up, laugh, and make it better. And as the balcony lights shimmered, I couldn't stop laughing. The palace gods was still arguing over whether I should be knighted or vaporized. I, meanwhile, was trying to unbend the balcony rail with my boot before someone blamed the damage on Terran sabotage. Zedkara hadn't moved. She stood perfectly still, regal and radiant, pretending her armor wasn't now slightly asymmetrical. Every time the metal creaked, her eyes twitched. I handed her a small canister from my tool belt. "Here, WD-40. Human holy water." She sniffed it like it might explode. "You offer lubrication to your monarch." I coughed. "Strictly mechanical, your radiance." The translator drones helpfully repeated lubrication in 20 alien dialects. The room filled with scandalized whispers. My internal voice screamed, "Perfect, Jack, start an interstellar incident with a spray can." Zedkara's mouth curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. "Proceed, human Harlan. Enlighten me with your primitive rituals." "Gladly." I gave the hinge a quick spray. The armor gave a gentle sigh, as if grateful. "See? No ceremony. Just friction, physics, and persistence. Humanity in a nutshell." She tilted her head. "Persistence, even when failure is probable. Especially then. We call it Tuesday." That earned me a low hum, her species equivalent of laughter. The Chamberlain looked ready to melt into a puddle of anxiety. The Empress stepped closer, inspecting the rail. "This structure is symbolic. It represents the barrier between ruler and ruled." "Then maybe," I said, "you should install a door instead of a barrier." Her eyes gleamed. "You dare critique imperial design?" I once fixed a fusion drive with a kitchen knife. I critique everything." Her laughter came sharper this time, an honest, unfiltered sound. The crowd murmured. The galaxy's most dignified woman was enjoying herself. The chief engineer, an anxious blob with 9 optical nodes, floated forward. Your Majesty, regulations forbid non-Zedkar interference in ceremonial architecture. Regulations, I said, are the rails we all get stuck in. Zedkara looked at me for a moment longer than protocol allowed. Perhaps humans understand more than they pretend. I gave a half bow. We pretend a lot. It's our defense mechanism. Her armor flickered, status lights adjusting after my impromptu repair. A faint puff of smoke curled from one decorative thruster. I waved it away. Just venting dignity. She laughed again. You mock the Empire fearlessly. I mock everything equally. Keeps my head balanced on my shoulders. The Chamberlain, desperate to restore order, announced, the Empress will now proceed with the blessing of unity. Zedkara gestured me to remain beside her. The human will assist. Every alien jaw dropped. The proclamation bounced across the comm network before I could protest. Assist turned out to mean, stand next to her while she extended her hands over the crowd and delivered a speech about interstellar harmony. I tried to look solemn, but my brain was still replaying the moment she'd been physically welded to the railing. Her speech was majestic, poetic, and completely at odds with the scorch mark still smoking behind her. She finished with, for in unity, no being stands alone. Right on cue, the balcony rail groaned again. The crowd gasped. I almost lost it. Zedkara shot me a look that was equal parts warning and amusement. Do not, she mouthed. I bit my lips so hard it hurt. After the ceremony, the Empress dismissed the crowd and gestured for me to follow her into a quieter chamber, a private observatory lined with starlight panels. The doors sealed behind us with a soft hiss. She removed her ceremonial helm, revealing a face both alien and strangely human, sharp angles softened by exhaustion. You risked public laughter to help me, Terran. Explain this courage. It's not courage, I said. It's habit. Someone has to fix things when everyone else is too polite to try. Her gaze lingered. You fix with tools. You repair with humor. You turn humiliation into energy. Fascinating. I shrugged. We call it surviving Mondays. Mondays. An ancient Terran curse word meaning why am I awake? That earned a small smile. She leaned on the railing of the observatory, careful this time, and studied me. Your species is unpredictable. You laugh when others would kneel. Laughter's cheaper than therapy. She tilted her head. Therapy? Never mind. It's like palace counseling but with more crying and less budget. Her eyes glimmered. Perhaps your people's irreverence is what the galaxy needs. I'd settle for better pay, I muttered. The silence that followed wasn't awkward, it was alive. Two beings from opposite ends of the evolutionary chart standing in a quiet chamber, connected by the shared absurdity of existing. Then she asked, almost teasingly, tell me, human Harlan, what would you have done if I had fallen from that balcony? Caught you. You assume you could. I assume I'd try. Humans are big on heroic stupidity. She laughed again, softer now. And what reward would you demand for such bravery? Coffee. Maybe a new multitool. Possibly diplomatic immunity. Her expression turned playful. You expect compensation for doing what is right. I expect paperwork for doing what isn't. That line cracked her composure completely. The mighty Empress leaned against the rail, shaking with laughter. For a terrifying second, I thought she'd get stuck again. Careful, I said. That rail's got a thing for you. Perhaps it does, she said between laughs. Perhaps the universe itself conspires to humble me. Don't take it personally. The universe humbles everyone eventually. Humans just laugh first. Her laughter faded into a thoughtful silence. You are peculiar, Harlan. Thank you. That's practically a compliment in human. She moved closer, voice lower. You remind me that power means little when trapped by one's own ornaments. I nodded toward the dented rail. Good metaphor. Also literal. Then let this be our secret. She straightened, regal again. The galaxy saw an Empress radiant in victory. Only we know she was momentarily entangled. Your secret's safe, I said. Though I can't promise the memes won't spread. Memes. Digital jokes. They'll call you Rail Queen before the week's over. She blinked. Explain why humans turn dignity into laughter. Because dignity's fragile. Laughter's bulletproof. She considered that, then smiled. Perhaps the Empire should invest in this bulletproof humor. Start with smaller doses. Too much, and you'll develop sarcasm. Her tone turned mock serious. And that would be disastrous. Completely. Sarcasm's the first step toward democracy. She actually clapped, a sharp, echoing sound of delight. You are irreverent, insolent, and infuriating. I admire it. Thanks, I said. It's part of our species' branding. The chamber lights dimmed automatically, casting us in the glow of the distant capital below. The moment stretched, comfortable now, filled with the hum of gravity stabilizers and something like mutual respect. Finally, she said, you may return to your quarters, human Harlan. Expect new duties soon. Should I bring tools? Bring your humor. The Empire appears to need maintenance. As I turned to leave, she called out, and, Harlan, try not to get yourself stuck in any rails. I grinned over my shoulder. No promises, Your Majesty. It's kind of a human specialty. Her laughter followed me down the corridor, low, genuine, and maybe a little dangerous. For the first time in galactic history, a Zedkar Empress had laughed at a joke. And humanity, somehow, had won again. By the next rotation, the palace rumor engine was in overdrive. Half the galaxy had seen the clip of me kneeling beside the Empress with my multitool. The other half had heard about the Terran who liberated Her Majesty with liquid lubricant. The caption running on the Empire's news stream read, Cross-species assistance, diplomatic or indecent. I was summoned before the Imperial Council, a semicircle of 12 luminous beings who looked like anxiety given form. They demanded to know what motivated my unprecedented physical intervention. I said, gravity and common sense. Zedkara entered halfway through the interrogation, armor polished, expression unreadable. The room fell silent as she took her throne. Her gaze met mine briefly, the faintest flicker of humor passed between us. Proceed, she told the council. The High Chancellor began, Your Majesty, the humans' conduct violated 17 ceremonial protocols and 1 unwritten law of reverence. Zedkara folded her arms. And yet, the railing still stands. Explain the relevance. The Chancellor stammered. It sets a precedent. He laughed in your presence. She looked at me. Did you, human Harlan? Guilty, I said. But it was either laugh or cry. Laughter's cheaper. The Chancellor gasped as if I'd slapped physics. Zedkara leaned back. Then the precedent is this: humor may exist in my court. You could have heard a singularity collapse. After the session, she motioned for me to follow her to the garden deck, one of those gravity-defying terraces full of glowing vines and floating koi orbs. She walked in silence until we reached the edge overlooking the city. You embarrassed my council, she said finally. I thought that was your job, I replied. Her head tilted, but her eyes glimmered. You are fearless. No, I said, I'm just too human to know when to shut up. She laughed softly. Perhaps that is your strength. A pause stretched between us, filled with the hum of distant traffic and the sweet metallic scent of alien flora. Your people value boldness, she said. Mine value control. We train emotion out of our rulers. Sounds exhausting, I said. Humans tried that once. We called it corporate culture. She gave me a look of pure curiosity. And did it work? Not really. We just learned to hide our panic behind PowerPoint slides. The translator drone hesitated before rendering that one. She chuckled when it finally did. Your wit is disarming, she said. Dangerous, even. Danger's relative. I'm more afraid of paperwork than execution. That earned a genuine laugh, clear, sharp, beautiful. We lingered by the balcony rail, now repaired but slightly crooked. I gestured toward it. Still holding up. She ran her fingers along the metal. I kept it this way intentionally. A reminder that perfection is brittle. Good policy. You could start a new architectural trend, imperial chic, a little bent but still standing. Her lips curved. You jest, but perhaps humanity's chaos has aesthetic merit. I bowed slightly. We call it improvisation. It's how we survive ourselves. She studied me, the weight of command in her gaze. Tell me, Harlan, are all humans like you? Some are worse. Some are better. Most just get by with caffeine and bad ideas. Caffeine. Fuel of empires. She laughed again. Then perhaps your species conquered the stars through beverages. Wouldn't surprise me, I said. We once ran entire civilizations on tea. Her tone turned thoughtful. You turn simple things into symbols of defiance. Laughter, coffee, duct tape. You wield them like weapons. That's humanity, Your Majesty. We don't have claws or plasma skin. We've got sarcasm and caffeine jitters. She leaned closer, voice lower. And yet, you broke 1,000-year silence in my court. Didn't mean to break it. Just loosened a few bolts. Her smile lingered. You speak as if life itself is a machine you can fix. Sometimes it is, I said. Sometimes it's just stuck on a rail. The double meaning wasn't lost on her. The pause after it stretched long and warm. I see why your species frightens the High Council, she said finally. You change things without asking permission. Change is our only export. Her eyes gleamed. Then I will make use of it. Before I could ask what she meant, a servant drone floated in, bearing a scroll of official-looking holograms. She signed it with a gesture. Effective immediately, she announced, you are appointed Royal Problem Solver of the Empire. I blinked. That's not a real title. It is now. Duties include fixing, advising, and making me laugh when necessary. So, a cosmic handyman with benefits. Her brow arched. Careful, human. Your idioms sound indecent in translation. Most of our idioms do, I said. It's how we test for compatibility. That earned another smile, quieter this time, almost conspiratorial. Then consider yourself compatible, for now. The palace staff later described that moment as the dawn of a cultural catastrophe. I preferred Tuesday. Word spread fast. By sunset, every newsfeed was streaming the headline, Human appointed to Imperial Court, Universe laughs in confusion. My inbox overflowed with congratulatory threats. Back in my quarters, I found a sealed message from the Empress. Attend me tomorrow for a private review of the balcony structure. Bring your multitool and your sense of humor. I read it twice, then once more for the innuendo. The next day, I returned to the balcony. She was already there, waiting, the stars reflecting off her armor. Inspection, Your Majesty. I asked. Recreation, she corrected. I wish to test a theory. She stepped to the rail, leaned slightly, too slightly, and said, Tell me, human. What happens when power leans too far? It gets stuck, I said. And then? Someone laughs, then fixes it. She nodded. Precisely. Then she leaned farther, just enough to make every guard twitch. I caught her wrist instinctively. Testing gravity is a bad habit, Your Majesty. Her tone was playful. Perhaps I wish to see if my royal problem solver still reacts quickly. Always, I said. Especially when careers are on the line. Her laughter echoed off the stars. Good. You may yet survive this court. We stood there for a moment, two outlines against the infinite night, the human who laughed at power and the ruler who'd learned to laugh with him. Somewhere below, the city lights blinked in patterns that almost looked like Morse code. If anyone down there was watching, they probably thought the galaxy had gone mad. Maybe it had. Maybe that was progress. When she finally spoke again, her voice held that strange mix of command and amusement only true leaders manage. You understand, Harlan, your presence challenges centuries of discipline. My advisors fear I am becoming human. Could be worse, I said. You could be becoming bureaucratic. She laughed again, unrestrained, defiant, beautiful. Then let us remain gloriously impractical together. I saluted with the multitool. Long may we bend the rails, Your Majesty. She smiled. Just don't break them. Can't promise that, I said. Breaking things is half my charm. The look she gave me said she understood every double meaning hiding behind that line. For once, I kept quiet, partly out of respect, partly because the balcony creaked again. This time, neither of us moved to fix it. By the next solar cycle, the Empire had gone completely viral. Every network replayed the clip of the Empress's laughter beside her human problem solver. Merchants were selling toy multitools called Harlans. Children chanted, "Don't get stuck," in playgrounds orbit-wide. Someone even wrote a pop song titled Rail Queen. The High Council called it cultural decay. The rest of the galaxy called it fun. I was still adjusting to being accidentally famous when the Empress summoned me again, this time to the Hall of Origins, a vast chamber where every Emperor's statue glared down like disappointed parents. Zedkara waited at the center, her armor traded for something simpler, sleek black fabric threaded with silver circuits. She looked lighter, freer, almost mischievous. "Human Harlan," she said, "explain this thing called a meme." I took a breath. A meme is when the universe trips, and everyone replays it for comfort. Her lips curved. Then I am now the universe. Only the most glamorous part of it. She smiled at the flattery, but her tone sharpened. The council is furious. They claim my authority has been undermined by laughter. Then they finally noticed what it's like to be alive. She paced between the towering statues. For centuries, we ruled through silence. Fear was our foundation. You changed that with a single laugh. Guess I should apologize, I said. Do not. She turned, eyes bright. I find myself entertained. And dangerously curious. That's how humanity spreads, through curiosity and bad timing. She approached until we stood a meter apart. Your kind infects stability with chaos. Perhaps that is why you survive everything. Maybe. We just keep patching the ship while it's burning. Her laugh returned, low, genuine. You make disaster sound endearing. That's our brand. A holoscreen blinked to life nearby, showing a council broadcast. The Chancellor thundered. The Empress indulges an alien jester while the Empire dissolves into mockery. Zedkara muted the feed. They wish to censure me. Remove you. Typical bureaucracy, always allergic to solutions. She smiled faintly. Then we shall give them one they cannot predict. She gestured toward the balcony, now cordoned off with golden warning tape. Come, she said. Let us return to the scene of the crime. We stepped out into the sunlight of the orbital dawn. The rail gleamed, freshly polished but still slightly bent, as if it remembered us. Crowds hovered below in viewing pods, cameras glinting like stars. This is where everything changed, she murmured. Where you got stuck, I added helpfully. Her glance could have vaporized a moon, but her smile ruined the effect. Careful, human Harlan. History now begins with that word. Stuck or human? Both. She rested her hands on the railing, eyes on the horizon. My advisors demand I apologize for the incident. They expect contrition. Don't, I said. If you bow to them, you'll be right back on the rail. She looked sideways at me. You truly believe laughter can rule an empire? No, I said. But it can stop one from collapsing under its own seriousness. Her silence held weight, then dissolved into a soft chuckle. Perhaps I shall test this human theory. She activated the palace broadcast system. billions tuned in. Her image filled the skies of 100 worlds. My people, she began, I owe you honesty. Yesterday, your Empress became one with a balcony. Gasps erupted across the cosmos. She continued, deadpan, our proud rail was victorious. It held me firmly until a human with questionable manners intervened. Laughter rippled through the translators. Actual laughter, shared across species. She smiled. Let the record show that perfection trapped me, and imperfection freed me. Henceforth, any who fear ridicule will remember, even an empress can get stuck. I watched from beside her, biting my lip to keep from grinning. She'd turned embarrassment into legend. That's when I realized she didn't just get the joke, she owned it. The broadcast ended. Silence returned, broken only by the wind across the balcony. Well, I said, congratulations. You just rebranded the empire. She turned toward me. And what is our slogan, Human Harlan? Laugh hard. Rule harder. Her eyes lit. Approved. Moments later, the palace corridors buzzed with activity. Courtiers rushed to adapt to the new doctrine of levity. Laughter, once treason, was now imperial policy. Within hours, memes became state propaganda. My face appeared on recruitment posters under the caption, Join the Fixers, bring your own tools. Back in the observatory that evening, I found her standing by the starlit glass again, the same pose as our first quiet talk. You realize, I said, the universe just crowned you the galaxy's first comedian queen. She smiled. And you, the galaxy's first court mechanic. Better title than most politicians get. She studied me for a long moment. Your kind thrives on irreverence. Ours thrives on ritual. Together, perhaps we balance. Or break everything trying. Breaking, she said softly, is sometimes the only way to rebuild. Her words hung in the air. I didn't reply. Sometimes silence says more than wit. Then, inevitably, the balcony groaned again, one long metallic sigh. I looked at her. You leaning too hard, Majesty. Perhaps. Her smile widened. Testing gravity again. Careful, I said. One day the rail's going to start charging rent. She laughed, the kind of laugh that shakes worlds. Then we shall pay in laughter. The guards outside pretended not to hear. Somewhere, the council collectively fainted. I leaned on the railing beside her, both of us looking out at the sprawl of lights below. You know, I said, humans have a saying, if you can't fix it, feature it. And if it cannot be featured, then you make a joke so good no one cares anymore. She nodded slowly. Then we are already halfway to peace. We stayed there until the stars shifted, saying nothing. The Empress of 1,000 worlds and one scruffy human, united by the universe's oldest survival trick, finding humor in the mess. When she finally spoke, her voice carried that mix of command and warmth I'd come to recognize. You may yet save my empire, human Harlan. Not with weapons, but with words. Words and WD-40, I said. She laughed again, bright and dangerous. Then let both be imperial standard issue. A shooting star crossed the horizon, and the palace lights dimmed for the night. I straightened, offered a mock salute. Mission accomplished, Your Majesty. The galaxy's officially unstuck. Not quite, she said, glancing at the rail. Some bends are worth keeping. I met her eyes and grinned. Adds character. She returned the grin. Exactly like you. The viewplate closed, sealing the balcony in gentle shadow. Outside, the empire buzzed with new laughter. Inside, an empress and a human shared the kind of silence that means everything's about to change again. And for the first time in recorded history, the Zedkar Empire had a ruler who laughed freely. Because one fool with a multitool taught her that sometimes the best way to hold the universe together is to let it fall apart and laugh while you fix it. I couldn't stop laughing.